Early this morning? No, it's not early. Morning and getting coffee. I don't always do early. Things have changed a lot in our lives, and I'm here to tell you about it. Well, I guess you're getting pretty used to me being here whenever I'm here. But this was a very long break. And I think I just like I talked about probably last year, I felt like I needed a break. And this year I just ended up taking one without meaning to. Just did it. I didn't have the ability to do everything that I would like to do in my life. It's like, just pick one. I have to prioritize. And the last video, I was just talking about how I miss everybody, but it's really hard to talk and have a heart-to-heart when there's big things going on and you're not talking about it. And we are talking about it now. We've shared with family and friends, but even on Facebook we haven't said anything for the most part. And I think it's time to share with my cup of tea listeners what my family is going through. We've had a really tough year. Everyone has, with COVID, a lot of people losing loved ones to COVID, and other people just experiencing the sheer stress of living with the changes. And that's something we're all going through, right? But this year, we've had quite a year. We've had wonderful things happen, and we've had a scary thing happen. That's another event. We've also had a tragic thing happen with the loss of a family member. And a cousin for me, my cousin. It's just been quite a year. But for my family personally, for my husband and I and my son, we've had our own personal trials. It was in the beginning of, I guess the end of winter, beginning of spring, that I was aware that I wasn't feeling well. I forget at that time if there was pressure on my chest, and I definitely was able to see every time I looked at the blood pressure cuff that I had high blood pressure. That was not like me, and I finally went to the emergency room one day in June, one early June day. And it was kind of a hard decision because I don't really run to the emergency room. I didn't want to incur a bill and it all be like, oh brother, you weren't even supposed to be here. There was no need to be here. I just have this thing about just going if it's absolutely a problem. And so my husband, I said, what if there's nothing wrong? I'll be embarrassed. And he's like, if there's nothing wrong, that's good news. Okay, so I had his encouragement to go, and we went to the emergency room, and my blood pressure was definitely high, and they did an EKG and everything. And all the doctor said was, well, first he asked if I lost a lot of weight, and I explained that I had lost about 25 over the last year, like the year before. I don't know if I even told him that detail, but he was like, did you starve? And I was like, no, I like food. No, I like food. I love to cook. I love to think about, I didn't tell him all this, but I love to think about like how to put great meals together. And the way to get good spices in it and stuff that are good for you. This is a passion of mine. No, I like to eat. That I had done a particular diet, and he asked me what it was, and I told him a little bit about it. And so he was satisfied with that, but he said, well, I'm going to have you go to a cardiologist and a regular doctor, because I didn't have a regular doctor lined up. So I left there, and I was going to go to the cardiologist, but I changed my mind. I put it off. And but was still looking to go to the regular doctor, figuring that the regular doctor could tell me for sure if that's what I really needed to do is go to the cardiologist. And so it was like 2 weeks later, and I'm still not feeling good. 2 weeks later, my husband is like bending over in pain, just like, you know, doubling over in pain. It was Father's Day, and he was having this pain, and it took us to the emergency room, and I was thinking, man, I thought I was the one sick. Good grief. Well, he had a kidney stone, and it was really painful. Like, he looked like he was in labor. I kid you not, he looked like me in labor. And so they helped him with the pain and everything. Eventually the kidney stone was gone, but that turned out to only be, believe it or not, a blessing in disguise that he had that kidney stone. Because they did a CT scan to confirm that that's what it was, and they thought there was something else wrong in like his hip area, and they discovered, they said it could be cancer. So, a few weeks later, I forget actually when we did it next, but we had a biopsy done, and it confirmed that there was cancer. But then they had to confirm what kind of cancer. Was it just in that area, or was it a different kind? And you might watch my brother's YouTube videos. Carl and Susie Gessler, they were at our house, and Susie said we were doing errands, and they were helping us. That was their polite way, knowing that we hadn't made this all public yet, of saying that they were helping us with errands. But actually my husband had a biopsy that day, and they were here making the day more fun for Samuel and easier for us. But but anyway, so he did the biopsy. Then they had to do another biopsy to determine what kind of cancer it was. And they checked and found out that it was called multiple myeloma. In the meantime, we've done some research on how to do things natural, you know, vitamin C infusions and amygdalin and these different things that we looked into that aren't as, you know, popular in the medical world, but they're things that people know about, and they're not well researched, I guess. I don't know. Well, maybe they are. But we looked into them, and for this particular cancer, it turned out that it was truly better to do chemo, because they have come a ways with the pharmaceutical means to really help get somebody with multiple myeloma in remission. I think since something like 2005 or something, they've started to have a better approach, and the rate of going into remission is really, really high. So even though there were natural things that we could look into, we discovered that not only would they be wrong for multiple myeloma, at least according to our studies. Don't quote me. Do your own research if you're in this boat. But it would be better to do the chemo, because there's going to be it's not just the chemo. There's a whole process involved that helps him get to full remission in about 4 to 6 months, Lord willing. So I won't describe the whole process, but so he's begun his chemo treatments, and I will be taking you along on the journey, even if it's telling you what we've already done. But so far he's had a month of, or not quite a month of chemo yet, so we're kind of on the early end of all this. So each day is different. Sometimes he's tired, sometimes he's not. Meanwhile, even in the middle of our first week of him having chemo, I end up going back to the hospital. Thankfully, by this time, my brother and his wife stepped in. I'm sorry. They helped us out for a couple weeks to take care of Samuel so he can have fun while we are having a lot of difficult times, where we're just basically trying to take care of ourselves, where John is getting used to chemo, and I was feeling, backing up, I forgot to tell you that I did go to the regular doctor, and she pretty much freaked out when she saw my blood pressure, and I was like, I think it's just because I'm here, I'm just nervous, you know, and she's like, no, you need to be on blood pressure medicine, which I was kind of ready to fight tooth and nail because I don't like medicine and stuff, but she was right. I needed to be on blood pressure medicine, and after the next visit, after she saw my blood work, she also promptly put me on cholesterol pills. And while my brother and his wife had Samuel for a couple weeks so that we could focus on getting better, I found myself in the hospital again, this time for an overnight stay. And they were doing heart tests, and discovered that I do have plaque and blockage. I don't know if that's like in my heart or just in some arteries or just evidenced by the blood. I don't even understand it all, but there is plaque, there is blockage, and they apparently didn't think it was so bad that they had to like go right in surgically, but they wanted to start with medicine. So I'm now doing, an aspirin every day like they told me to do, a good dose every day of the cholesterol pill, and of the then a lower dose, probably the high blood pressure. Because really high blood pressure hasn't been an issue for me till this year. It probably was based on perhaps stress, but definitely I'm thinking blockage. That's just my own thinking, because I don't remember having high blood pressure before. Then again, I don't know. But that's what we're dealing with. And I still have symptoms of, catching a pain in my chest or having just a feeling there. And it's just a really different time in our lives, because I don't know if, I don't know if I'm on the verge of a heart attack sometimes, and then other days I feel fine. So it's been a real journey of learning to look at priorities. I find myself enjoying sitting and listening to a sermon of Alistair Begg or something like that, and resting, and probably the high blood pressure medicine has helped me to calm down a little bit. But it just takes you to priorities, and realizing that even though I'm in my young 40s, I'm almost 42. I might not make it to 80, or I might, but it's just a reality that life is short, and we don't know how many days we have, and just makes you think about your priorities and everything. But so we're really dealing with a lot. Samuel's home again. We're so appreciative to Carl and Susie for the fun that they let him have for a couple weeks, and we're happy to be together as a family again, while we've gotten used to our handicaps, if you will. And we're doing okay, and we're doing all right, and that's good. So it was just time to share that publicly and let everybody know. Have some more coffee here. And now the new challenge in my life is to make sure I didn't forget to take my medicine each day. I'm only my young 40s. It just feels like this is what you should do when you're like 70, but it's just, God has a plan for all of us, things that He allows for His purposes, and I trust Him. Thank you all for sitting and hearing our story. Maybe one of these days I'll get my husband to sit here and have tea with me and we'll talk a little bit. I just thought it was time to catch you up, and now you know how to pray for us. All right, you guys have a great rest of the week.